The Super Speedway Podcast is a Dream Bigger media production. For news, photos, show notes, and information about advertising on the podcast, visit www.thesuperspeedway.com.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 151 of the Super Speedway Podcast, recorded Thursday, April 30th, 2020. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. James, it's like week 600 of quarantine. How's it going?
It's going, man. It's going. It's, the old Darrell Waltrip saying, man, boogity, 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 right?
Yeah.
It's about that time. We got some news today.
We're getting some light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe
positive.
It's dim light, but it's light nonetheless.
Yeah. So. We've kind of been seeing the news circulating that it was gonna, this was gonna happen. We were going to Darlington.
Yeah.
But yeah, to see it officially announced and all the major news outlets picking up on it, because we're the first ones out the door.
CNN breaking news Twitter today. I think it's what they say. I think one of the NASCAR media people said it's like the sixth most popular Twitter.
Yeah,
they had it today. So.
Yep. Fox News, I saw, had it. Everybody had it.
Our local ABC affiliate had it.
Yep, all of our local stuff had it. I bet you if I went on to like MSN right now, I'm gonna do it. MSN, It's on there. Yep, there it is. NASCAR coming back, return date. There you go. So first page.
Nice.
Hey, we made the national news for something not negative.
But you know what? If you go to sportsillustrated.com, not a freaking word.
Well, that's just a bunch of aggregators, man. That's not even a real site anymore.
Not even a mention. There's not even a picture of a race car on here.
There's nothing I haven't thought about. I haven't put a thought about Sports Illustrated in at least 5 years.
Yeah.
There's nothing more relevant than Sports Illustrated.
I don't know that I've ever put any thought in them, but
no, sir. But yeah, man, racing. It's coming.
Yeah. We'll talk about it in a couple minutes here. First, before we do that, we got to talk about iRacing, James's favorite thing.
Oh, I thought we were going to get away with not doing it tonight, but that's okay.
No.
This is what you call filler.
Yeah.
Right.
If you say so.
Okay.
So I was filibustering here because I was looking to see if New York Times had anything on NASCAR. They also do not.
That's okay.
All right. We get to talk a little bit of iRacing. James, the iRacing eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series was at Talladega Super Speedway, virtual Talladega Super Speedway this past weekend. Can't wait till I can stop saying virtual with these races. It was a good show, I'll tell you that, for what we've seen over the past few weeks. Talladega put on a good show. Old Jeff Gordon got to make his NASCAR return. Probably the last time he'll do so, as he ended up stuck in the fence in turn 3.
I saw he was crashing Jimmy Johnson after the checkered flag.
Yep,
I saw that too. So he was having some fun.
Yep, Denny Hamlin had his daughter turn his monitor off.
That was the most interesting thing that has happened since we've started iRacing. That was the best.
His daughter's was so good. It was so good.
We've all been there. If you have kids, we've all been there.
Yeah, exactly.
The first official, I wonder if, because Racing Reference has been putting all of the results up. What do you put for that? Is that the first ever, DNF by child?
I don't know. Do they have it up there? Do they have a stat?
I bet you it's on there. I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, let's see if you get it there before I do.
Yeah, there it is. Let me see. I got the race. Let's see what Denny Hamlin's got the DNF, what the DNF is. Denny Hamlin disconnected.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So Alex Bowman gets the win in a photo finish at the line. I don't know. I ripped on Gluck a little bit last week, but I don't really have a whole lot else to say. I'll tell you, actually the best thing I saw in iRacing this week was last night. The Fox has been doing their Wednesday night iRacing, and they've got an IROC series they're doing, which is they're running the super late models on different tracks. Mm-hmm. And it was a 3-wide come to the finish checkered flag at Michigan last night, and 0.007 seconds for the win for, I think, Bobby Bonnie won it, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
Bobby won. Now, if only we could have cars in real life.
Drive through
Yeah,
each other.
yeah, ghost cars.
That did help a little bit because
I
otherwise
was
it would have been
watching.
a
I
wreck.
saw that highlight this morning. I'm like, are you guys really going to show this? Why are you showing it?
I know
But
when
it was a
stuff
good.
like that happens, when the cars blink and stuff, it gets really annoying. But
Yeah,
and then they ran.
it finished regardless. But
Yeah, it was great. Then they ran the modifieds at Eldora right afterwards, and Kyle Busch coming into turn 4 on the first lap just got turned right and went. If it would have been real life, I think he'd have gone through the wall. He hit it so hard and he was done. So, but
Poor KP.
I'll tell you what, honestly, James, if you haven't watched any of them, the Wednesday night racing is probably about the best one because they've been kind of bouncing around a different series. They did Stadium Off-Road Trucks last week. It's been fun. It's been cool to see. Scott Speed was there, so he's apparently been unbanned from iRacing. So he was the in-studio guy this week for Fox on Wednesday night. But it was good. One more thing to mention from the Talladega race. Clint Boyer was leading, bragging, and then blew his motor.
Yeah, I saw that highlight too.
That was pretty good too.
Yeah.
So,
He got to come back after that, though, didn't he? Didn't he blow up and then come back?
yeah, they went back to the one reset, which I wish they'd just get rid of the resets, but I think they were afraid of Talladega and having no cars left.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's as realistic as it gets. You shouldn't have any cars
Exactly.
left anyway. Yeah.
exactly. So I don't know. It's fun, but now that we get to actually talk about some real racing, it's the interest is waning a little bit.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
excited about Talladega because I'm excited about anything at Talladega. No matter what it is, they could race tricycles at Talladega and I'd watch it, but it would be really long. It would take a long time to get a lap in, but I'd still watch it. But this week they go to Dover, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say the iRacing Dover probably will be better than the real Dover, in my opinion.
Probably.
So, I know that's the case with Michigan. Michigan is a lot better on iRacing than it is in real life right now.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the big tracks are, the 1.5s and 2s,
Right? Yeah.
they definitely perform better on the virtual circuit.
I will say though, I'm looking at this racing reference picture of the finish at the line, and Dale Jr.'s big ass spoilers are still really freaking ridiculous on these cars on iRacing too.
That's funny. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. All right, so there we go. We're done talking about video games, James. Let's talk about real life NASCAR racing because we actually have
Yes,
stuff to
thank
talk
you.
about. So let's start with the first news we got this week, which was actually with the Talladega iRacing event. Before they started, they had a special guest in studio, and it was Ryan Newman. And Newman was there to make an announcement that he was planning to return to NASCAR as soon as the season restarted, which was immediately followed by NASCAR saying, we didn't approve him yet.
Jeez, oh, Pete's, man.
But they have since approved him, and Ryan Newman is back in the number 6 car. He will be back at Darlington, come to find out. So
yeah. On May 17th.
yeah, there you go. So Newman's back. He's only missed, 3 races, right?
Yep.
We're
Yep.
4 in. So, and NASCAR did grant him a waiver. So he will be racing for the title, which we kind of expected, I think.
Since you brought it up,
Yeah.
I'm going to the waiver.
Yeah, let's just get rid of the waiver, right?
Can we just, if you're in the top 30 and you
Mhm.
win a race,
Yep.
you get in. No
Yep.
more waiver. No more waiver.
The
I don't want to
only-
hear about the waiver.
The only, better yet. Okay. I don't know. I guess the reason they have it, I get why they have it.
It's an injury protection rule.
Well,
is
no,
all it is.
I don't think it's that. It's more along the lines of, Kyle Busch has got 2 races in hand. He just skips the last 2 races of the regular season.
I understand, yes. And I get they don't want Ricky Rudd out there with his eyes taped open anymore.
Right.
That's another part of it. And with the COVID thing, what are you going to do? Somebody catches COVID, you're not going to grant him a waiver. Of course you're going to grant him a
Right.
waiver.
Exactly.
When are you going to turn people away?
The problem is it's easier to just grant people waivers than
Kyle
it is.
Busch isn't going to be skipping races because he's resting? What is he
Right.
What?
But it's easier to grant the waivers, I think, than it is to say, no, sorry, you can't do what you're doing.
I get
because
frustrated
because
by
they
it.
don't have to write a rule here saying every scenario where you would skip a race is banned. They have
Yeah.
the rule that says you don't get to unless we grant a waiver. And so I think it protects NASCAR from having a situation that they weren't prepared for and didn't have in the rule book.
Waivers are dumb, and drivers not earning points in other series are dumb. There's
Yes.
my two beefs for the week.
100% agree with you. I agree. I mean, this waiver's stupid. I think, the only time they've ever not granted a waiver is in an instance where somebody was already getting points in another series, and in that case they shouldn't. So
Look at like Ross Chastain last year. He switches series and he declares for trucks.
Yep.
And he was how many races? 8 races out or whatever.
right.
And it didn't matter. He made it because he won and he was fantastic.
Right.
So
Well, shoot, look how quick Kyle Busch made it back into the top 30 or 20 or whatever he had to do when the season he was out. So
Tony Stewart, his last season, he was able to get up into the top 30 and got a win and made the chase, or made the, well, that's not the chase, hasn't been the chase for a while, made the playoffs the last season of his career too. So
I think the top 30 requirement is enough of a requirement.
Much of a catch-all, yeah.
Yeah, it makes it enough of a requirement that you don't need the waiver.
You're coming to the track every week. You got 30. Basically, you're only getting 36 cars out there anyway.
Right.
Anymore. So I don't know. Just a quick thing. And Ryan Newman, why is everything got to be such a thing with him?
Like he's got to make an appearance on the show and he's got to be on the Today Show.
Why do we have to? Why do we have to?
I don't know.
Why what's the big secrets? And then why is he going out and saying I'm back and NASCAR hasn't cleared you yet?
I don't know. You're right. I didn't even think about that, but you're right. It's just weird.
Yeah,
this whole thing has been weird. I mean, he got hit in the head pretty good.
I know. Is it just a little bit of a curmudgeon? I don't know.
Yes, it's Ryan Newman. He is a curmudgeon.
Yeah, I mean that's.
But he's freaking hilarious too.
I am so glad that he's back. He's healthy and he can race. I mean, honestly, it's fantastic. I just don't know why it has to be a thing with him that he's, just get cleared by NASCAR first, or tell him you're ready and get cleared. I don't know why you have to.
Yeah, it's kind of like he's been doing everything kind of really secretive.
He's
weird.
He's needling NASCAR, I think, is
Probably.
what I think he's doing. I think he's playing some sort of a game. That's just me.
Could be. Speaking of that, we got another new driver, James, in the NASCAR NASCAR Cup Series. We finally found out this week who is going to replace Kyle Larson in the 42 car. But before we get to who's going to replace him, which I'm sure everybody who's listening to this knows already, but I'm going to make James wait a little bit longer because he's chomping at the bit to discuss this. Let's talk about who didn't get the 42 ride. Carl Edwards was offered the 42 ride.
Yep.
Carl Edwards. How great would that have been?
It would have been great to see Carl come back.
And he actually took 24 hours to think about it before he turned it down.
He's been done for a while.
I know, but man, it would have been so cool to see Carl Edwards come back.
I know. Well, I mean, we miss him, honestly. But
we do. Also,
he's living his best life.
Yeah, he is. I don't even know what he's doing. What's he doing?
Nothing. I don't know if he's doing anything.
Yeah.
I think he's just traveling around, or he's probably in quarantine like us now, but he's been doing whatever he wants.
I don't know. It's hard for me to understand because I would be racing a race car.
He's sailing, and
if I could be in a competitive car and be that close to winning a championship and winning consistently, I would not be going anywhere.
He left at his apex.
He did. He did what everybody should do.
He left at the very, very tip top of the sport. Even Jeff Gordon, God bless him, Jeff Gordon had a shot to win in his final race before he came back and drove the 88. But Carl Edwards literally went out as good or almost as good as you can get.
Yeah.
About to win a championship before he got wrecked out.
Do you think he'd have left if he won the championship? Do you think this was something he was thinking about already?
I think so, man. How do you leave? I don't know.
That'd be crazy.
I don't know. When I heard that he been reached out to and was just considering it, I was like floored. I was floored.
I respect him for what he did because not only did he leave in his prime, but he also did it with no pomp and circumstance whatsoever.
Nope, no goodbye tour, nothing.
Nope.
Our last image of Carl Edwards is him walking over and shaking hands with his competitors.
Yep.
And gracefully walking out the door.
Yep. It's crazy.
I know. What a guy.
The other guy who did not get the 42 ride is Ross Chastain, who I think we all pretty much thought was getting that ride. Chip Ganassi, when asked about Ross Chastain, said, "We've got plans for him," which I thought was interesting. I'm assuming those plans revolve around the one car, wouldn't you think?
It must be now, but what are you going to do with this situation? Well, we'll go get into it in a minute, but yeah, I don't know what the plan is. Maybe he's aligning with Monster post.
That's the only thing I can think of is that there's something with Monster.
but I guess I don't know why. I mean, I know he's under contract with Colleague, and maybe Ganassi would have had to have bought him out of that contract.
Right. And I was wondering too, like, one of the interesting things that we're going to have to discuss here is these one-day shows that we're going to be doing for a while here for the different series. Are these Cup drivers going to be able to be there 2 days? So maybe it was something along the lines of thinking ahead of things, that Ross Chastain jumping from the Xfinity car to the Cup car just wasn't going to work out.
That's not why I think that it is, but that's a good theory.
Right. I don't think it is either, but I think given maybe this time next year, we'll probably have a better understanding, and we'll probably go, oh, okay, now it all makes sense.
Well, he'll be in that car next year. If he's not in that car next year, he's never moving up.
Right.
Or in a I should say a Cup car with Ganassi. He's not. It's not.
I think the fact that he's not in that 42 car says a lot to the fact that he's not going to be in the 42 car.
Well, and let's call it what it is. This isn't you're not bringing in the better driver here. You're bringing in the
what are
PR,
you
bringing in the PR rep is what you're doing.
Yeah, but are you even okay? So Matt Kenseth was named to replace Kyle Larson in the 42 car, and I would really like to argue with James, because I've argued with James on Matt Kenseth before, because he and I have very differing opinions of Matt Kenseth, which is funny.
Fans and Matt Kenseth fans don't like me.
Yeah, which is funny because I also, in a discussion this week with our buddy Todd on Facebook and James, said that if there was one Cup driver who has a title who I could theoretically see not getting into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, it is Matt Kenseth.
Oh my God.
That's my opinion. That being said, I think he will get into the Hall of Fame. But
he's a better Hall of Fame candidate than Dale Jr.
No, he's not. Are we going to do this again?
I don't want to do this again. I'm not doing that again.
But that's my point with Matt Kenseth. Does he have that big of a following that this is a PR move?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a PR move.
But
it
who
is.
cares?
100%.
It's Matt Kenseth. Who cares?
No, I got into this with my buddy Derek on Twitter. We went back and forth on this a little bit. And I understand both sides. I don't like the hire, and I don't understand. My problem with NASCAR has always been we always dip our toe into the has-been pool all the time when you've got young talent, but you do that out of necessity. You have some big-time sponsors on that 42 car, from McDonald's to Capital One, so on and so forth. Ross Chastain's not going to do it for those types of sponsors, but if you tell him, hey, we're bringing in Matt Kenseth, somebody from NASCAR's heyday. Oh, the champion, Matt Kenseth. Yes, put him in the car. He's, we know him. We know that guy. He's going to, and here's the thing Chip's doing as well. Not only is he keeping his sponsors happy, but by keeping his sponsors happy, he's keeping all of those people in his organization employed.
Right.
It's not just hiring a driver to replace a driver. What you're doing is you're hiring the third leg of a three-legged chair. You can't, your whole organization will topple if you do not have, somebody who can sustain in that place. And Matt Kenseth's not going to say anything interesting. He's not going to say anything controversial. He's going to show up every week. He's going to flash his smile. He's going to have the sponsors patted across his chest. He's going to do a great job with all of that stuff. And he's going to ensure that checks keep coming in for Ganassi Racing. That is his sole job.
Let me give you a different standpoint. Who's going to tear up more cars, Ross Chastain or Matt Kenseth?
Ross Chastain.
Exactly. You're going to put Kenseth in this car. He's not going to tear cars up.
I will say this though, to fight you back on that just a little bit. Matt Kenseth hasn't driven this rules package ever.
That is true.
Never once, ever, never. So what is he going to do?
He's Mr. Consistent. Hence why he has a title.
He's going to be going to races with no practice time. He's going to be showing up to race.
Matt Kenseth's first time in this aero package,
going to be in a race.
Is going to be into turn 1 at Darlington in race conditions.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm telling you, and he's 8 years old. And I saw people on Twitter saying, well, Mark Martin was winning races at 51. This is a way different situation. Way different situation. Mark Martin was driving Hendrick cars at the peak of Hendrick's power, and those cars at those rules packages back in that day was pretty well suited to Mark Martin's style.
Right.
Once the double file restarts kind of kicked in and Mark Martin kind of started showing his age at 52, it wasn't as pretty. But man, I don't know. I mean, I give Chip credit for pulling Matt in. I do think it's a smart play. As a looking at it strictly from a talent driver perspective, I hate this, but I understand it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, gosh, man, to go from Kyle Larson to 48-year-old Matt Kenseth, woof. He's not gonna put me down for it, and if I'm wrong, so be it. He's not gonna do anything out there. He's not gonna do anything. I mean, he's gonna be irrelevant.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
I really think so.
I agree.
really think so. And too, you've already got an established champion on your stable, an aged champion in Kurt Busch, and you go out and you get an older one.
Right.
When you could possibly fill the seat with, even if it's not Chastain, I don't know, man. Eric, I'm rambling. This is good. I've kind of taken your role.
Yeah. What are you trying to say?
I'm sorry. There's always whenever you replace a driver, you're taking a chance that it's not going to work. And sometimes you replace a great with a young driver. You get Daniel Suarez, and that was a really bad situation at Gibbs, right? Where he comes in trying to replace Carl Edwards. This is not going to work. That wasn't part of the plan. Joey Logano trying to replace Tony Stewart really wasn't part of the plan. Tony Stewart left them at a weird time. They weren't expecting him to. But when you go with the older driver, it's usually a catastrophe. I really think so. I don't know. Like Hendrick Motorsports, right? They decide to keep Mark Martin instead of going with Brad Keselowski.
Right.
In the years that follow, Penske becomes what, Eric, 1B of the top organizations in the sport. Mm-hmm. Hendrick is still trying to recover. And you could have had a solid Brad Keselowski in your stable, which Penske has, reinforced their organization around him. Gibbs Racing goes and gets Matt Kenseth. They get one championship contender, one year of Matt Kenseth, 7 wins. And Joey Logano has blossomed into a champion and should have won possibly 3 titles by now. If you count, Kenseth dumping him at Martinsville in 2015 and the 2016 wreck with Edwards. So
right.
There's lots of cases. I mean, you can go either way in this thing. I may be totally right. I may be totally wrong, but I don't know. That's where I'm at with it. Sorry, Matt. Sorry, Matt fans.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add, really. I think it's odd. The thing that is the oddest to me is that it seems like such a foregone conclusion that Ross Chastain's going to end up in a Chip Ganassi car. And then it just so happens that he essentially loses his ride in the 6 car at the same time that they need somebody for the 42 car.
Yeah, we were messaging about that this week, that Ross Chastain lost 2 rides to Ryan Newman and Matt Kenseth. And what did I say? I said Ross Chastain. I think I said 60 years old. Ross Chastain lost 2 seats to 60-year-old men. Just, obviously
right.
I'm exaggerating there, but still. I mean, that was Ryan Newman's seat to begin with, but just a joke, honestly. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough for Ross. I feel like he would have been good with this, especially with the new car not coming next year now. To give him that extra seat time, I thought would have been valuable. If you're gonna, obviously this whole thing's unprecedented. They were not anticipating. They thought Kyle Larson was going to be driving that car for the next 15 years, but
yeah,
it's just not going to happen, man. That's the way that you were dealt a rough hand here, and you do the best you can with it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go.
I told you I was a chained dog ready to talk about Matt Kenseth.
Let's talk about NASCAR coming back, James. We talked about it a little bit last week. We'd heard the rumors, but it's now official. NASCAR announced today that they are coming back Sunday, May 17th, the Darlington Cup 400. Darlington Cup 400, Cup cars, 400 miles, whatever. I'm reading my notes and I shouldn't be doing that. Reading off the teleprompter. I don't remember what the race is called, but 3:30 p.m. May 17th, Sunday at Darlington. The Cup Series returns, and we get 7 races in 10 days between the Xfinity Series, the Cup Series, and the Truck Series. There was also an ARCA race scheduled in here, but the ARCA race has been postponed, so that won't happen. But so we go Darlington on Sunday, May 17th. On Tuesday, May 19th, we go back to Darlington for the Xfinity Series, a 200-miler. Wednesday night, May 20th, we run a 500-kilometer Cup race at Darlington. Sunday, May 24th, we go to Charlotte for the Coca-Cola 600. And then on Monday, the Xfinity Series races at Charlotte. On Tuesday, the 26th of May, the Truck Series races at Charlotte. And on Wednesday, the 27th of May, the Cup Series returns to Charlotte again for a 500-kilometer race. So a couple interesting things to note here per NASCAR announcements today, and they held a phone conference that unfortunately I wasn't able to sit in on because I was at a conference for my regular work at that time. But Darlington will continue to have 3 races, we'll have 3 races this season. So they went from losing their date, having 1 date, and being questioned whether they're going to continue on the schedule at one point, to now they have 3 races this season. NASCAR plans to is hoping to keep the playoffs intact, so that is how we get the conclusion that Darlington's going to keep its 3rd date. What else here? We will have live pit stops for these races, which was something that we were wondering about, because NASCAR said that they want to they want to keep that part as part of the show. That's part of NASCAR. Let's see, 1-day shows for all of them. No practice, no qualifying, except for the Coca-Cola 600 that will have qualifying. NASCAR will mandate use of personal protective equipment throughout the event for people at the track. There will be health screenings for all individuals prior to entering the facility and while inside the facility and exiting the facility. Social distancing protocols will be used throughout the event, and there will be a limits on the number of individuals who are granted access to each facility. As for media, that is currently a fluid situation, per Steve O'Donnell today on the conference call. What do you think, James? I know we talked last week about whether we thought that this was a good move, and we can get into that again this week, or we don't have to. But I guess what are your thoughts? I'm filibuster for me because I'm trying to find the Q&A that I was reading earlier today.
Yeah, I think the thing, Eric, is if these states are opening up and they're allowing this type of thing to happen, by all means, man, I'm not going to be the one to tell people what to do.
Right.
If this is what NASCAR needs to do, and NASCAR, they need money. They need money to survive, and you got to put races on TV to get that money, and you got to make sponsors happy, and you got to make your TV partners happy. Fox has got to be ecstatic to know that they have live sports coming. I'm seeing tweets today that are, people saying, I don't watch NASCAR, never have, but I'm going to tune in for some live action. So, I am worried as, I wouldn't want to be going, if I was on a pit crew or something. I don't know if I would be.
That's with me. I was saying yesterday that, even if they were to let all media that applied to go, I will not be going until this is calmed down.
But here's the thing, Eric. You got to provide for your family. If this is your job.
That's true.
I know a lot of these guys are chasing dreams and doing that whole thing too. But if you have a family and you are needing to put food on the table, then by all means, man, I'm not going to tell people to stop. This is it. I think it's a good thing for that specific reason. Like I said, I am nervous that something's going to happen and we're going to have, what happens when we have positive COVID,
right?
And, in the garage area, and what kind of publicity spin is going to go on with that. But, I think there's measures in place for this. They're going to, and NASCAR has said they're going to do proper testing. They don't have enough testing, but they're going to follow protocols, like you said, take temperatures and things like that. And that's the best you can do. I mean, shoot, I work, here in Michigan, and we have an office, and, most of us are remote, but we have a business that requires, people be in the office, so we check temperatures. We don't have COVID tests, but we follow the protocols as our state has provided, and we have not had any issues. So,
Right.
this is a much larger scale than that, but again, you do the best you can with what you got, and if you're allowed to do it, then let's do it. Let's just race. I want to see some
Oh
racing.
yeah,
I'm excited.
I'm really conflicted here because my like official stance on this and my want for actual racing really are conflicting with each other.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
guess my thing is that first of all, I think it's becoming more and more apparent that we're going to be living with this for a while.
Yeah.
That even if a vaccine's found, it's going to be end of this year, early next year at the earliest, and then you have to be able to scale that to get it out to everybody. And this is just something that we're going to deal with this year, and so we're going to have to find a way to deal with that. And at this point, maybe we're learning enough about it to where we can start opening some things up with precautions. And, you and I don't need to go and, change what we're doing. We can continue to isolate and do what we're doing. But, nobody's forcing the NASCAR teams to do this either. If they choose to isolate, they can. But if they want to participate, then they have to go participate. And, all the other sports are looking at this. I know NHL is talking about it right now. We talked last week about Major League Baseball talking about it. I know the NBA is talking about it.
Yeah.
All these different sports series are talking about it. And I think NASCAR is at the advantage of the fact that aside from pit stops, and even that with no fans at the track, you can spread those out quite a bit too.
Yeah.
That they don't really have to be close together. And so this, with racing without fans, but that is an outside sport,
Yep.
I think it works. Now I think it's going to be really funny if on Sunday, May 17th, it rains.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw Pockrass tweeting about that. He said those things are going to remain fluid as they normally will.
Yeah.
So you got to do what you got to do. But
one thing here I
that
wanted to
was
pull up, the link to this is in the show notes as well at thesuperspeedway.com if you want to check it out. But NBC Sports did a great Q&A on this today. And I'm just going to run through most of it because really all of it is relevant. So one of the questions, will fans be allowed at the races? No. Steve O'Donnell said, this is from the Steve O'Donnell conference call today. O'Donnell said that, they want to have fans in the stands as soon as they can, but until they can, they're not going to. Dates only announced through May 27th. O'Donnell said that the goal is to have the first 7 races at tracks within driving distance of Charlotte, of the team shops. And he said that they have the schedule determined through the end of the season at Phoenix, but they're not ready to announce it yet.
yeah.
Obviously some things can change, but they've got a schedule planned. He said this was the 65th iteration that they announced today. A couple of the future dates that are mentioned here are Sunday, May 31st at Martinsville, Wednesday, June 3rd at Bristol, Sunday, June 7th at Atlanta, which for the record is the Michigan Cup date.
Yeah.
Sunday, June 14th at Homestead, Miami. One of the other things that was interesting is Steve O'Donnell said today that there are 3 Cup tracks that likely will be realigned and will lose their races this season as a result of this, and could be more for the Xfinity or the Truck Series. So we'll come back to that in a minute because I want to speculate as to which 3 those are. More doubleheaders in Cup, possibly. I'm guessing that Michigan will be in August if we do race at Michigan. And it sounds like there could be more as well. It sounds like their plan is to hopefully still have Pocono be the first doubleheader. So that's June 27th, 28th. So we'll see what happens after that. Dover Motorsports has talked about the fact that they may run a doubleheader in August. So that's of note as well. Playoffs will remain the same at this time. Live pit stops, yes. Starting lineup, how will it be set? O'Donnell said that the plan is probably to start the first one by owner points, but that they're working on how to do the rest of them, at least in this May stretch that we run. And they may do some different things with how they finish or whatnot. So Victory Lane, we will still have some sort of celebration after the race. Victory Lane may be on the front stretch at the start-finish line or something along those lines, but they still hope to do something. 16 crew members will be allowed at the track. If a driver is replaced at this time, they will not earn points if they don't start the race. That rule could be amended, Steve O'Donnell said. If a crew member or driver tests positive in the days following the race, they will have to be quarantined for 14 days. Or be 14 days without symptoms before they can be back at a track.
Yep.
I think that pretty much covers it. There's other stuff in here.
Driver motorhomes are going to be on premise, but they're going to be spaced way out, but there's not going to be any fans.
Right.
So.
It's going to be so weird. So weird. I almost want to go to one of these just to be there for a race with nobody there. I mean, I got to experience it a little bit at Michigan last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, I've told this before, but I was at the Tuesday Michigan race after multiple rainouts, and that was probably as close as I can get to probably what we're going to be seeing. Like the campground was bare.
Yeah.
On the infield, which I had never seen before, except for a few, RVs that were stuck in the mud. But it was pretty bare that day. So that's probably as close as I can imagine.
It's going to be different. That's for sure. All right, let's talk. 3 tracks are going to lose their dates. What do we think? I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say Sonoma is one of them.
Yeah, we're not going back out to California.
There's no reason to go back out to California. And, San Francisco has been really careful about when they're opening up. They've kind of led the whole, shelter in place thing across the country. I don't see them getting that reversed in time to run the race out there.
We're not going to California, so we agree there.
Yeah.
Next one for me, I think Vegas is in trouble.
Yeah. Could you count that as losing a date though? Because I guess you would.
They lose their playoff date, right?
Yeah, see, I don't think so then, because
he says he's going to keep the playoffs intact, but boy, I mean that is a long way away yet.
Yeah.
But I think Vegas is in trouble.
I don't think so.
I just don't think they're going to be traveling out west unless they're going to Phoenix for the championship.
Right.
Texas, but Texas that's a playoff track, so
Texas
they're
ready
going to go
race
there
right now.
Texas might lose one race.
I think Chicagoland loses their race. And my guess was,
couldn't you go Michigan to Chicago though?
Maybe,
possibly,
maybe.
You bring your backup car and run it to Chicago. I don't know.
Maybe. You're talking Chicago right now is, I don't remember when Chicago is. It used to be July 4th weekend, but I think it's earlier now.
Yeah, they had to move it around a little bit.
So if it's in June, we're already pushing that race. I think Chicagoland is it. And I thought New Hampshire as well, because it's in, the eastern portion. It's kind of a hotbed area.
Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen's another one that I thought of. That's been discussed in my circles. So yeah, I would say it's 3 of those 4.
Yeah, you're not going to drop Kentucky. You're not going to drop Kansas, because you can get 2 races in at Kansas.
Right.
I think
the hope is still to run Indy in July.
Yeah, you'd run Indy. Maybe Michigan does lose a date. I don't know. But Michigan would be a natural doubleheader.
Yeah, if you're going to go to Michigan for one race, you might as well do both. There's no reason not to do a doubleheader at Michigan, except if you don't want to stay out there. But if you're camping, if you're staying in trailers, then you're fine.
Yeah.
Because you're already going to Michigan, so just do a doubleheader.
Yeah, so maybe you lose.
See, Chicago makes sense to me because it's only got one date.
Yeah, so maybe you lose one of your Bristols and your Sonoma and possibly Watkins.
See, I don't think you lose your Bristol because they're talking to go into Bristol in June, and then Bristol is also going to be a playoff race.
This is going to be so hard for these teams to prep these cars.
Because see, Bristol makes sense because Bristol they don't have to stay.
Right.
So Bristol's not going to lose a race.
Right. I'm just trying to think of how. Yeah, because all those close tracks are going to keep their dates. Richmond's going to keep 2. Yeah, but you got to turn around those short track cars, man. That's got to be tough. That's going to be really tough, especially if you crash them.
Well, you don't have to worry about crashing them in practice or qualifying now.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. I feel like the 1.5 mile, 2 mile tracks are easier. You could run those races, and then, chances are you're not going to have a huge crash with your car. That's always a good chance, but.
And that's part of the reason that they went to the 1.5 mile tracks as well coming out.
We're not losing Atlanta, right?
I don't think so. No, Atlanta's rumored to be June 7th. So, but yeah, that's one of the reasons they did 1.5 mile tracks coming out too, and they didn't go right to Bristol is because a lot of the teams had 1.5 mile cars prepared already for Atlanta. So they wanted to continue. They wanted to keep the pipeline correct as far as production on the cars.
This is going to be such a weird season.
It's going to be weird.
Stuff. Yeah.
It's definitely going to be a season of sacrifice in that, things are going to be a lot different, but it's going to be a stop the bleeding type of season.
Yeah. And predictions, predictions are always bad, but this is a year where it's going to be like throwing. I mean, we could theoretically get some really awkward winners. Yeah. Some really weird stuff could happen.
Yep, we could.
I mean, this is an opportunity for some team to maybe sneak a championship that you wouldn't think.
Right.
If this thing gets wild and crazy, maybe this is maybe Ryan Blaney gets his title before he's, before it's, because he's been so good.
Right.
Logano's been so good.
Yeah, who knows what this has done
does that have
momentum.
Staying power? Yeah, does that have staying power, or is it going to be all cattywampus,
Yeah. I mean, it's a new season.
Yeah, we're starting over. Yeah. I mean, we have races in the bank, but this is not NASCAR. This is NASCAR 2020 2.0. This is not the regular season. This is weird. This is going to be wacky.
One more note on the 3 tracks that are losing their dates. We should know which ones they are before we go to Darlington on May 17th.
Yeah, NASCAR's going to try to have a schedule in place. I just wonder what NASCAR's going to do. Let's say, God forbid, there's a massive spike in the Carolina area over the next week. 2.5 weeks is a long time, Eric. And we've seen these numbers. They go way down, and then we have a huge spike.
Yep.
What happens if we start opening things up and those spikes get even bigger? What do these governors do?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, this is all just contingent upon things continuing to improve. Yeah. I mean, this is projected that we'll be able to do this by this time should things continue to go the way they're going.
Right.
But that's it. Anything can change. So I said today I will not get excited until I see a car on the track, because I got excited about Atlanta and got excited multiple times during that day about Atlanta, and then Atlanta didn't happen. So
right.
Yeah. Again, I applaud NASCAR for trying to get it going. I hope it works out. Man, I would just love to watch some racing. I would really like things to improve to where I could actually get to a track this year. It'll save me a heck of a lot of money if I don't.
Yeah.
But I really I dreamt the other night of being at Michigan covering a race.
That's fantastic.
It's so terrible. And the stands were full in my dream, for the record.
That's fantastic too. Yeah. Yeah. Someday next year, we'll get it back. But
yeah, it's just,
go ahead. I was just going to say, there's something here too. NASCAR's taking a risk. They're the first ones peeking their nose out the door of the bunker. But there's something to be said if they can pull this off. Let's say we get through May 27th and we're healthy. We have no COVID cases. Things are looking good. NASCAR's been doing this for a while, and maybe we show the other sports leagues the way. Like, you can do this if you do it right.
Right.
Maybe we get all of our sports back. The NBA is looking at, quarantining at Walt Disney World, to play all of their games and get their playoffs in.
Right.
So yeah, your schedules are going to look different. It's going to look weird, but you can get your races on TV. You can get your sports on TV. So I know a lot of people at NASCAR did a lot of work. Like you said, this is the 65th version.
Right.
But kudos to everybody.
That's the thing is, it felt like over the last few weeks, like we're just sitting on our hands, but they weren't.
No, they weren't.
They haven't been.
Everybody.
We just didn't hear any rumblings. We didn't hear what the rumors were until just this past week. We've really started to get them, but they've been working all along.
Can you imagine if Brian France was in charge right now?
Holy smokes. Don't even get me going.
I mean, Vince McMahon's doing a pretty darn good job with the WWE with some of the crazy stuff they've got going on, but they're still operating. Yeah. They haven't stopped.
They're so irrelevant anymore.
I know, but it's not. I know it's not sports. It's sports entertainment, right? But they found a way to keep going.
Yeah, I was watching some of the old Monday Night War stuff on YouTube last night, and it's like, man, those were the days, man.
Oh yeah,
WCW. It was so much fun when WCW was on TV giving away the results to the Raw matches that were pre-taped, and then the D-Generation X guys were showing up at the arena with the WCW show and harassing people outside. Man, it was so good. Such good stuff.
My favorite rabbit hole on the internet is just getting into Stone Cold stuff.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things to do. I love it.
He's really good at just giving out all the secrets and all the stories he's got about being in WWE and all that. There's some good stuff there from Stone Cold. Yeah, a little bit of sidetracked, but that's what we do here.
That's what we do. Yeah.
Just to go back to the racing thing one more time before we just let it all go to hell like it normally does. If let's say we do this, let's say we go back May 17th, and one person within NASCAR comes down with coronavirus. Is this a failure then? I mean, does that put an end to it, or are we talking? I mean, what do you think?
I think we're trudging forward.
I think so too. I think even a couple cases of it, this is business as usual. This is what we do now.
Yeah, I think our country is going to take that approach though too, Eric. I don't think
so
that's not going to be just a NASCAR thing. We are all going to be pushing forward now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big proponent of quarantining and all that stuff, and my stance hasn't changed. I don't want this. The people that I've seen that have had it, I know a couple people who've had it. It's not cool. I don't have any interest in getting it. That being said, the point to what we've done is to flatten the curve and make it to where the hospitals can be prepared and can keep up with it. And because we flattened the curve, hospitals are not as full and they are able to keep up. So maybe it is time to start loosening some restrictions and unfortunately more people are going to catch this, but maybe that's a good thing. And
yep.
So I don't know.
But
just keep it away from me.
If you read the news, we've got stuff going in the positive direction. We've got drugs that can possibly, help with the recovery of this. And vaccine news has been fairly positive. Like you said, Eric, we're looking, Fauci said January possibly for a vaccine. So, there are good things to be had. It's just, it's kind of do what you do. At your own risk, I guess, for lack of better terminology. I mean, I'm still going to try to be safe, but my wife's going to eventually have to go back to work.
Yep.
I don't have to go into the office, but that doesn't mean that most people don't,
Yeah, I think our company is going to keep us out of the office for quite a while, but we were just talking today about what we can do to give ourselves more room where we're at. So, who knows? Yeah, I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, I think that's kind of the way I go into most NASCAR things is cautious optimism, and so
yep, that's the good way to do it.
I can't wait to I'll tell you what, if the weather is good and this actually gets pulled off and we get 7 races in 10 days, I'm going to be in freaking heaven.
You're going to be comatose, dude.
Oh my God, it's going to be so great. Night races during the week. That's awesome.
This is what we've always wanted.
I've wanted weeknight racing for so long.
This is what we've always dreamed.
So excited. So you guys,
NASCAR's been forced to change the schedule.
Freaking tune in, watch the crap out of it. Give these races some good ratings, and NASCAR will schedule them for next year too. That's what we need.
Yep.
And not only that, we're going to get some shorter races. 500-kilometer races, perfect.
Yep.
And I'm excited about, James, I'm really excited about the fact that we're still going to have live pit stops. I was worried about that. I was really concerned how you do a 600-mile race or how you do a race at Darlington where the tires wear out like they do and not have live pit stops. So.
Eric, this is everything you've said that you like. Qualifying is irrelevant.
Yeah.
We don't want practice time because we need these cars to be, wacky.
This is my dream NASCAR right here.
Yeah, this is it.
Except there's no fans there, and I can't be there.
Yeah, this is it, man. This is the good stuff.
Yep, we get Darlington 3 times.
Yep.
Come on, man. I mean, we're stuck with Charlotte a bunch too, but that's okay.
Well, you get the Charlotte Roval though at the end, so it'll be okay.
Yeah. Uh-oh, James, you're yawning.
I know. I couldn't hold it back. I went to hit my mute. Hey, man, it's getting close to 10 o'clock.
It's only 9:51, man. We haven't been doing this for an hour tonight.
Usually I don't get the yawns, but I went to hit my mute button, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to make it. And I just let it out. I didn't even care.
Oh, now I need to yawn. All right. Anything else? Is there anything else to talk about here? I mean, we can certainly stretch this out, but since you're getting tired, we can probably wrap this thing up.
I'm already falling asleep. Hopefully you're not falling asleep listening to it. No.
I'm tired tonight, too. I don't know what it is.
Well, we are also recording a day later in the week, so
that is true.
It's Friday tomorrow, man. We're pretty much tapped out as it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think so. I think we covered everything as far as schedule. I mean, the big news this week was real news, which is a nice change of pace, and there's no negative news, which is also yes.
I mean, it depends on how you take the Kenseth thing, but
it's not negative news.
No, it's good. It's good. It's like you said, it's the right move for Chip Ganassi, I think. And
yeah.
Good move for Kenseth. Gets his name back out there again.
Yep. He has to delay his Hall of Fame another year.
Yeah.
So he'll be fine. Yeah.
Yep.
It's good.
Go.
He's not worried about that.
I don't know what I was gonna say. Any shout outs this week, James?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. I have one. I was going to come up with my one from last week that I forgot, but I still couldn't find it, or I forgot to look for it. But I do have a shout out because we were supposed to have a special guest tonight on the podcast. And the plan is hopefully to have the special guest next week. So I'm going to tease it on the podcast because he listens to the podcast. And that way it's set in stone and he has to appear and he can't bail on us again. Our buddy Todd, who we've talked about many times in the podcast, he's been on before. Previously, he was just a NASCAR fan, but he is now a NASCAR employee. So we're going to have a NASCAR official on the podcast next week. That's the plan. Yeah. So we're excited about talking with Todd. Todd works in the tower now for NASCAR. And we'll get some inside information and find out what it's like. He consistently tells us that it's not very exciting, but I beg to differ because I've been 2 rooms over at Michigan in the tower, and it looks way more interesting. And every question I've asked him that he's answered, I've been super interested in. So you guys will be interested too. It'll be fun. So like I said,
and he likes to rib Eric all the time, which is very enjoyable.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It'll be a good time. So hopefully Todd will be on next week. We'll chat with him, and I'm assuming we'll continue to be getting NASCAR news here going forward. So we'll talk a little bit about iRacing next week, but hopefully we can talk about the real thing. So that's what we want to do.
Yep.
And,
that's right.
And James, if they want to talk to you during the week before next week, how do they find you on social media?
At James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. Our website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find the podcast on there, show notes, links to all the articles we discussed in today's episode, past coverage, all that sort of thing. Check it out, thesuperspeedway.com. You can find the podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and SoundCloud. Wherever you found us today, we hope you subscribe and continue to listen. And if you like the show, want to become a part of it, want to get involved, want to, send us some money. Just kidding. Well, really, I mean, that is what you'd be doing. But anyway, if you want to help us out and become a part of the show, you can do that at Patreon at patreon.com/thesuperspeedway. It's almost not that exciting that we're going to virtual Dover this weekend because in a couple of weeks, we're going to real Darlington.
Yeah.
So, well, we aren't.
We love Darlington.
We aren't going there, but NASCAR is supposedly going there. So,
the collective we.
Yeah, exactly. So, we'll try and get excited about virtual Dover this weekend. Watch some iRacing for a couple more weeks, and then get ready to go back to the real thing. But until then, everybody, we'll be back next week to discuss it some more and talk about the latest news. Hopefully, chat with Todd. Until then, let's go racing.